Last night on this program, Michael Steele got tripped up on the minimum wage, thereby making the minimum wage the issue of the day in congressional campaigns. With Tea Party Republican candidates now fighting over what they really want to do to the working poor, Democrats finally see an opportunity. Sorry, Michael. No, I really am sorry. My apology to Michael Steele later.
That'll be your headline. That'll be your headline, Lawrence. Still doesn't know the minimum wage.
What is the minimum wage, Michael?
You really like the minimum wage, don't you? That is not the most paramount issue that voters out there are facing.
The minimum wage takes over the campaign for control of Congress.
So there should not be a federal minimum wage.
There should not be.
The Tea Party Republican Senate candidate in Alaska is not alone. In West Virginia,
John Racy. He wants to eliminate the minimum wage. West Virginia working families, we can do better.
The Tea Party Republican Senate pick in Nevada.
We really have spoiled our citizenry.
And the Republican candidate for governor in Minnesota.
If you didn't have any minimum wage law, then you could say that it was the free market working.
And then there is the Republican candidate for Senate in one of America's richest states.
I'm Linda McMahon.
Saying one thing behind closed doors and telling Connecticut voters the opposite.
That I would consider reducing the minimum wage. That's a lie. You know that's a lie. I never said it.
The party of less tax for the rich and now less pay for the working poor versus a Democratic Party that has fought the same fight for decades.
On just the issue to try and raise the minimum wage. What is it about it that drives you Republicans crazy? What is the price that the workers have to pay to get an increase?
So why are Democrats facing this?
Get that. 58 to 36%, 22-point difference. This is such a total shift.
With 26 days until the election, why can't Democrats convince workers they are on their side?
I got up early to find one of those $10 minimum wage jobs Michael Steele thinks exist.
Yeah. Whether the minimum wage is $7, $10, or whatever it happens to be.
Mr. Steele, $7.25 is the number you were looking for.
U.S. minimum wage is about $15,000 a year, about $300 a week at $7.25 an hour.
That's the reality that people are facing right now.
Good evening from New York. I'm Lawrence O'Donnell. As Newt Gingrich recently reminded Republicans facing midterm elections, Ronald Reagan's closing argument in 1980 was Morning in America versus the malaise of Jimmy Carter. In 1994, Gingrich himself penned the Contract with America versus decades of broken promises from the Democrats. And this week, Gingrich unveiled his latest contribution to the campaign talking point canon. His new slogan is, quote, paychecks versus food stamps. He recommends that Republican office seekers aggressively repeat over and over until Election Day the phrase, the Democratic Party of food stamps and the Republican Party of paychecks. So, Republicans, believing it a winning slogan, have run with that this week, making sure Americans know that the party of paychecks doesn't know and doesn't care what's actually in your paycheck. Last night on this program, Republican National Committee Chairman Michael Steele didn't know that the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, even after several Republican candidates had run into trouble because they either didn't know how much it was or hinted that they wanted to lower it, and some actually saying they wanted to eliminate it altogether. Since about 2/3 of Americans support raising the minimum wage, you'd expect the party of paychecks to take the popular position on the issue. This raises the bigger question, with Republicans taking such shockingly unpopular positions, how can the Democrats still be behind in the polls? Joining me now are Representative Marsha Blackburn, a Republican from Tennessee, and Representative Donna Edwards, a Democrat from Maryland. Representative Blackburn, you voted against the last increase in the minimum wage. Would you vote to reduce it if you have that chance in the next Congress?
No, I'm not going to vote to reduce it, but I think the more important thing, Lawrence, is that we put the focus on creating the environment that jobs growth can take place. We all know that the best economic stimulus is a job, and that's what the American people are repeatedly telling us that they want to see the emphasis placed on. Is government is supposed to create the environment in which jobs growth can take place. They expect us to do that. They know that stimulus and bailout has not worked, and they're saying, look, it's time to change course. It's time to go a different direction. You create the environment. Let us get to work.
Do you remember what the minimum wage was last time when you voted against the increase?
I think it went from, was it $7.14 to $7.25.
It was $6.55 when you voted against the 70-cent increase. That amounts to, if you were making that an hour, 40 hours a week, it amounts to roughly $13,000, a little more than $13,000 a year. Could you live on $13,000 a year in your district?
It would be very tough. We have families in our district. I think the median in our district is about $36,000 a year. That's our median income. And we have families that are struggling, that are working hard. My focus is on getting our unemployment numbers down and getting employment numbers up, looking at how we shift the focus and do some jobs retraining. I was at a community college today working on this very issue. It's important to us, and we want to make certain that the environment is right for people to make a lot more than the minimum wage.
Representative Donna Edwards, about two-thirds of the electorate is in favor of currently increasing the minimum wage from where it stands now. Support for the very existence of the minimum wage is virtually unanimous among voters. It's around 90%. With the Republican Party threatening the minimum wage, some of the candidates with their rhetoric, with Republicans having a record of reliably opposing increases in the minimum wage, Republicans preventing the minimum wage for increasing for 10 years before it increased last time. How is it that the Democrats are not successfully countering the Republican campaign slogan that they are the party of paychecks?
Well, I want to make the case because Republicans are waging a war against workers in this country. The minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, $15,000 a year if you're working 40 hours, if you're lucky to work 40 hours making minimum wage. That doesn't even bring you to the poverty line if you're a family of four in this country. And so, the minimum wage was signed into law by President Bush, passed by a Democratic Congress over the objections of Republicans in Congress. They're waging a war against workers. They didn't want to extend unemployment benefits. They don't want to protect Social Security from privatization. And here they want to take away the minimum wage.
But, Donna, the rhetoric that the Democrats are using does not seem to be effectively countering the Republican attacks on the economy. What do you think is missing in the national campaign for Democrats to hold on to the Congress? What do you think is missing in their approach to the voter?
Well, I think we have to make it clear as Democrats that we stand on the side of workers and working people. And we have to say it over and over again. What this Congress, our Congress, has done to protect working people has been really astounding. And I think we have to convey that to workers. Congresswoman Blackburn talked about being at a community college and wanting to create jobs. But it was her party that actually voted against legislation that would allow students to go to community college and receive student loans and Pell Grants to go to community college. And so they are not a party that stands for workers. Democrats stand for workers. We stand on the side of workers. And we have to say that to the American people over and over again and point out the disparity that Republicans want to create.
Congressman Blackburn, if I had to guess, if I was given a blind test of, one of the parties is using, we're the party of paychecks as a slogan, I would guess that's the Democratic Party. If I was hearing, we're the party of tax cuts, I would say that, that's the Republican Party. But it seems like that's an attempt to adopt basically Democratic Party rhetoric for Republican campaigns. And in your pledge to America, there is a section on health care The first provision of your Pledge to America section on health care is repeal the Obama health care bill. The second provision in the health care section of your Pledge to America is restore most of the Obama health care bill. All the regulations on insurance companies, all of the mandates on insurance companies are in your Pledge to America. Why would you pledge to do something in the next Congress that you already have voted against in this Congress?
Lawrence, a couple of things here. First of all, it's news to me that there was some kind of slogan of party of paychecks. That's hearing it from you is the first time that I have heard that. Secondly, on the health care bill, what we are hearing from health care providers and health care companies, from hospitals, physicians, is this. The health care bill is a very convoluted bill, that there is a lot of uncertainty in that bill. There is a lot of regulation, overreach, paperwork, and what they have said to us many times, people that were for that bill before it was passed are now saying, look, it doesn't matter. It's not a partisan issue. It doesn't matter if you're from the left, the right, or the middle. It is better to repeal the bill, get it off the books, and then start back focusing on some of the reforms that need to take place. No one is saying the status quo is the way to keep things. We don't want to do that. But there are some things that the American people want. They do want to see their insurance company, their costs come down. They do want accountability from those insurance companies. They want to make sure that there is the ability for those with pre-existing and chronic conditions to have the access to affordable health care, and they want to make certain that tort reform takes place. And there's a philosophical divide here. A way you can do it with government in control or with patients in control. And what we're saying is, look, let's take it off the books. Let's come back and let's go to the other way of doing this, the other side of this philosophical divide, and let's put patients more in control of their health care. And quite frankly, I'm going to tell you, I think that that's what the American people are wanting to see. We hear it from them every day.
Congresswoman Edwards, were you as surprised as I was to read in the Pledge for America that after abolishing the Obama health care bill, the Republicans propose what they would describe and did describe in the Obama health care bill, a massive socialistic regulatory regime on the healthcare private sector, on the health insurance companies, massive new regulations that would require them to provide coverage for people that they are not providing coverage for now. There's nothing in that Pledge to America that surprises me more than what Congresswoman Blackburn is now embracing.
Well, I think it's true. I mean, I think what you can see is that the American people really don't care about philosophy. When it comes to health care, that they care now that their young people who are age 22 can stay on their parents' health care plan. The Republicans won't repeal that. They care now that we're going to close that donut hole for senior citizens. Republicans aren't going to repeal that. They care now that under the health care plan, those same people who work for minimum wage, many of whom don't have health care, will be able to get health care. Republicans won't repeal it because the American people won't tolerate it. And so it's really very disingenuous, this Pledge to America. I mean, it's no different from a contract, a pledge. We know that Democrats are standing on the side of working people. Democrats are standing on the side of people who get up and just want to take care of their families and want to do it and make a decent living. And the Republicans, you know, say all the right words, but their policies speak to something quite different.
Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, Republican of Tennessee, and Congresswoman Donna Edwards, Democrat of Maryland, I thank you both for your time tonight.
Good to be with you.
The most important voice in who is out of touch belongs to the people. Up next, we get outside the Beltway to hear the concerns of the voters after the economy. One of the biggest fears will surprise you. And the White House is dismissing talk of an Obama-Hillary ticket in 2012, but when the investigative journalist Bob Woodward has the story, it cannot be dismissed. His former partner, Carl Bernstein, joins me to talk Hillary and Woodward. And in tonight's Rewrite, time to rewrite myself in an apology to Michael Steele for something I said in last night's show.